We are fine, no, ma'am.
I'm extremely sorry. I don't know what happened today.
Extremely sorry everyone for waiting, but thank you for joining. Good evening and welcome all. I'm Dr. Richa, your coordinator for the program today. I welcome you all on the 13th session of today Tea Time with Dr. Kawita Bapat ma'am, an academic extravaganza. Always consists of the topic and discussion that are helpful for our day-to-day practice. Important and dynamic expert and guest with us who always upgrade and uplift us. As on today,
इसकी आवाज नहीं आ रही. Richa, you are not audible. It's okay. Continue.
Whose smile just changed the aura. So let me take this session further by welcoming Dr. Bapat Mukherjee, sir. Sir was the Vice President Foxy in 2021 and 22, Vice President of Bengal Society, member ICOG Governing Council, Secretary ICC RCOG India East, FIGO Coordinator of South Asia on Safe Abortion Committee, Founder Secretary ISOPUB on Kolkata Chapter, Founder Secretary IAGE Bengal, Organizing Secretary of AICOG 2023, and we witness is very beautiful. Young Gynecologist Award in year 2011 at TRIPE and contributed in 30 plus chapters in many textbooks. So I hand this over the session to you, sir, to take it further.
I should welcome Dr. Basab also, and by that time, sir will join. And Basab, you need not to introduce me. I think I'm just looking for the Dr. Jaideep Tang to be there. Is he there, Richa? No. Welcome, Basab. Thank you so much, friend of mine. Very passionate.
Not yet, ma'am. He's about to join.
Can you call him again?
Yes.
Let him be there, then we'll start. Just it will take another 2 minutes probably. Just 2 minutes more. Should I call him again? I don't know what's wrong. Basab, can you try once again?
Yeah, I'm trying once. I think I called him once. I said he's joining. It's busy. He's talking to somebody. So
Something is wrong with the phone.
Yeah, once it's finished, I guess he'll join.
Without him, we cannot start a conversation. That's wrong. Very sorry for that. Extremely sorry for that. I cannot introduce also with him, and without him, I cannot introduce you too. Sorry.
Sir has joined, ma'am. Jaideep sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Kavita.
Sorry. I
I'm
thought
very,
that you
very
are
sorry.
busy. No
I,
problem. Yes, just starting. Richard?
Yes, ma'am. I'll
Yeah.
just start again from the
No,
beginning.
not again. Simply make it simple. Yeah.
Ma'am, we'll start with Basap's introduction.
Yeah, please. Again, do it.
Yes.
Or I continue with it.
Yes, as on today's session, we have two spirited gentlemen with us whose just smile changes the aura. So let me just take this session further by introducing Dr. Basap Mukherjee, sir. Dr. Basap, sir, he is Vice President in year 21 and 22, Vice President Bengal Obsgynae Society, member of ICOG Governing Council in 2015 to 2020, and Secretary AICCRCOG India East, FIGO Coordinator of South Asia Safe Abortion Committee, Founder Secretary ISOPUB Kolkata Chapter, Founder Secretary IAG Bengal Society, Organizing Secretary of AICOG 2023, Young Gynecologist Award in year 2011 at TRIPE, and contributed in 30 plus chapters in many textbooks. So, sir, I hand over this session to you to take it further.
Before that, I just want to put a word for my best friend. It's fortunate to have the friends like you, Basap. And being a buddy as a vice president, your knowledge and behavior was simply great. And absolutely James person. Thank you so much for joining today. Over to you, Basap. Don't introduce me in much manner. We'll start conversation fast so that we can finish it in a right in time. Thank you
Do we
so
have
much.
Jaideep's CV or doesn't that come up here?
The Jaideep series,
You
need to
take
put
that.
my
You take
CV
that.
and
You
then
take
Jaideep.
that. Fine. You take that and I introduce you. I don't think there's anything to introduce
No,
you.
nothing to introduce. Don't introduce me. Say hi.
So hello, I'm saying hello to you, hello to Jaideep. It's so nice to be with friends, though virtually, but I think that's fine because we'll next time we meet, we'll raise a toast. But just now we say hello to each other. We've
Thank you
already
so
wasted a lot of time. We look forward to some words
Thanks.
of wisdom from Jaideep. You've got the right person for the right topic. There's no one better who talks on abortion and miscarriages than Jaideep Tang. He's the one who sucked me into FIGO. And that's the reason why I still hold that chair of chairperson of South Asia of the Safe Abortion Committee of FIGO. Thank you, Jaideep, for everything. And Kawita, we look forward for you getting words of wisdom from.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Can I please share the CV of Dr. Jaideep Tang? Just put it over there, but I'll speak in my own words. So Tuesday Tea Time is basically the Learn Simply with Kawita Bapat. It's a platform for conversation, insights, and knowledge and sharing. Basically, it's dedicated with the people and a take work message. We need a crisp knowledge about various subjects with conversation with the leaders like you, Dr. Jaideep Tang. And we believe the bringing together the best people because it's a continuous learning. And the main idea of this is a great crisp knowledge, learn with the leaders and experts. And we expand the network by connecting with the like-minded individuals. And we stay updated with this thing. But it's really a pleasure to welcome Dr. Jaideep Tang, who wants remarkable qualities. I'm not praising it, but I'll put it in my style in 3 or 4 words. Is the foremost stability of mind. I think Basap will agree with me. The amount of stability of the mind, which is make him stay focused and any challenging situation which I have seen. Number 2 quality is having is a deep knowledge and expertise in any subject. And third one is a leadership skill, which is exceptional. Excellent communication, problem solving, decision making, strategy, everything you have. And finally, the organizational skill. Your plan, prioritize. I'm 100% sure you must have planned your Foxy President thing. Everything must already be done and must have delegated many more things to many more. And you know how to manage the time efficiently. You are a valuable asset to the Foxy. And the outstanding usual, sir, not making things, but the 4 things: stability of mind, perfection, leadership skill, and all. So welcome you. And today we are having a discussion is very simple. It's we do have a progressive and liberal abortion lab in the country. We talk about it. It's really good. And these laws are really good, but we have little problems in many more things. How to assess the safe abortion at different parts of the country is a challengeable. So I'll ask a few questions. It's just a conversation. Now, what's your point when we talk about the legal status of abortions in India?
Thank you very much, Kawita, for that very, very kind, very warm and very generous introduction. Let me apologize. I'm very, very sorry that I got delayed in joining. It's very unlike me. I always try to
I
join
know.
early, but there was an unavoidable reason I couldn't join.
I'm extremely sorry for that because
No,
I
no,
thought
no.
you're not picking phone. I think it must be some serious issue. So
No,
I
no.
think everything is good at that end and we can start. Yes.
Sometimes it is a little misunderstood, and Basab will bear me out for that. About the abortion law in our country. Because abortion is so readily accessible and because it is so easy to provide abortion in our country, we sometimes think that abortion is a woman's right in our country. But technically, at least, it isn't. The MTP Act, in fact, is an exception which is made to a few clauses in the Indian Penal Code which criminalize abortion. So if you really think about the Indian Penal Code, which was promulgated under the Britishers so many years back in 1860, to be precise, Section 312, 313 up to 316 criminalized abortion. That means both the person who sought the abortion and the person who underwent the abortion were both regarded as criminals. And because abortion was criminalized in our country, not surprisingly, abortion went underground. And when it went underground, like medical things, when they do go underground, the morbidity and mortality from abortion started rising dramatically. Because the fact of the matter, and this is something which countries over a period of time, even those who have restrictive laws on abortion have come to accept that abortion is a fact of life. I've just finished my term as chair of the FIGO global, the Global Committee for Safe Abortion, which Basab is a part of still. And the one thing I realized was that even if you have 100% contraceptive prevalence, where all people in the entire country use modern contraception, there will still be failures. And the failures can occur in terms of either method failures, that means the method itself fails, or personal failures where the method is not used properly. But the fact is that even in a country where contraception has got 100% prevalence, the need for safe abortion will always be there. It pretty much will never go away. And that is why it is, I think, facile to say that give everybody contraception and abortion or the need for abortion will disappear. It never does. And the government realized this. Luckily, our government realized it much earlier than other people did. And they set up the Shantilal Shah Committee in 1971, in 1964, who then worked for a few years, gave suggestions, and finally we got the MTP Act in 1971, which has now been modified twice, once in 2000, 2001, and very recently, a year back. So what the MTP Act does is actually makes an exception and provides certain conditions under which an abortion can be provided legally in our country. And it does this by making an exception to these few sections of the Indian Penal Code. And within the Act itself, essentially, and I must say that this is easily one of the most elegant pieces of legislation passed in the Indian Parliament. It's a very simple act. It's very concise and it's very precise. It tells you three things: who can do the abortion, who can undergo the abortion, and where can you provide the abortion. Very, very simple act. And if anybody has not read the act so far, I would very strongly urge you to read it. And of course, the way we provide abortion in the country is not only determined by the act. The act just provides an overview. Then there are rules which give life to the act, and these are typically framed by the central government and ratified by each house of the parliament. And then there are regulations. Remember, in India, health is a state subject, and because it's a state subject, the health state has to have some role in health policies, and the role which state governments have are the regulations. The important thing to remember is that in regulations, you are only looking at issues which involve opinions and reporting and maintaining secrecy. So if a given state government gives a GR or promulgates a GR under the MTP Act on any other issue, the state is actually exceeding its brief. And this has happened in the past, and we have managed to, make states aware of this, and the states have been kind enough to roll back these kind of GRs. So what the MTP Act does is lays down certain indications.
Yes, sir. Basically, sorry to interrupt you between. We'll sort it out in a simpler manner that what you talked about. As a legal status, we talk about in under circumstances. I think Basa will also join with us in some moments. And who, when, where is also important. You talked about. And basically under circumstances it works. You mean the abortion is legal, but in circumstances. So MTP, as you talked about in 1971, it regulates the abortion in India. What you say? So how it is implemented, how it works, how we are benefited by this law when it started, and how it will be in future. What changes we want in this law? I'm just asking the way I think this is the best law the world is talking about, but anything which you feel that we need to change or anything like this in this type of law?
See, when the new amendments came, I believe they were extraordinarily progressive.
Yeah.
The fact is that when we were advocating for the new amendments, and we have done really quite a lot of work. Foxy has been a major stakeholder as far as the whole act of amendments, etc. is concerned. The president at that time, Dr. Shanta Kumari, and me were also a part of the committee which actually drafted the amendments. And I have been involved with the amendments for a very, very long time. There were a lot of discussions, and honestly speaking, from whatever we wanted, almost everything was accepted. And that was a really magnificent act, I must say, by the government. Our government has really been very far-sighted as far as the MTP Act is concerned. What now remains to be done actually is more about implementation, raising awareness, both amongst the authorities as well as our members. With regard to the act. If you were to ask me what is the policy change as such that we would be looking forward to for new policies on abortion, I would say that we are pretty much at a sweet spot. I would say that we are doing very well. Certain technical things, for example, as we began by saying, making abortion a right of the woman. Technically, abortion is not a right of the woman in our country. There is a clause which says failure of contraception is an indication for abortion. And in a large number of cases, that is the clause that we use. Because in their foresight, when this indication was framed, the people who wrote the law did not say you need to ask what contraception, when contraception, or anything of that sort. A failure of contraception was deemed to be a good indication. So this allows us to provide abortion literally on demand to just about anybody. But the fact is that it would be nice if the government could say that, yes, safe abortion is a right of the woman. Now, having said that, you need to pick and choose, what you want to really have skin in the game for. Given the fact that abortion is so easily accessible, you need to wonder whether academically speaking, yes, it would be of great interest to have the government say this. But given the fact that access is already so good, you have to wonder whether you need to waste, your advocacy capital, if I may say so, on an issue like this. Second thing I would really like to happen is to give an absolutely official stamp on the use of mifepristone and misoprostol. And this is again something we've been advocating for a very long time. Again, technically, you must realize that since the guidelines of the government recommend mifepristone and misoprostol as the safest way to provide abortion, since the World Health Organization says that MIFI and MISO is in fact the safest way to provide abortion, it's difficult to say that MIFI MISO use is still off-label or illegal in this country. It certainly is not. I don't know of a single provider who uses anything other than mifepristone and misoprostol in the late parts of the trimester to provide an abortion, but it would be something which would be there in a wish list. So in fact, I would that what we need to talk about now is more implementation, awareness, last mile access for women rather than any significant policy changes.
So the main point is that according to you, it should be one of the rights, you can say, or you can say abortion should not be the method of population. At the end of the day, it should not be. It should not be.
Honestly, for me, it has always been a difficult argument. I know.
Yeah, no, we will not go into it. We'll not go. So I am going to ask you that now with a recent thing, how many weeks into the pregnancy a women can get abortion under the MTP Act. I think because we are having most of them are the practicing OBGYN, and what is the latest amendment you would like to talk about?
Sure. Thank you, Kawita. The thing is that, as we already said, we do have one of the best laws in the world now.
Yeah.
Previously, abortion used to be legal up to 20 weeks of gestation in our country. And up to 12 weeks, you could do an abortion with the opinion of one RMP. And remember, an RMP is defined differently under the MTP Act. It's not the regular RMP. There are certain criteria that you have to fulfill to be an RMP. And one of the criteria is a postgraduate degree holder in OBGYN. So if you are, for example, a category A member of FOXI, you're automatically a postgraduate degree holder, and therefore you're automatically provide abortions through the entire pregnancy.
Correct.
So previously, one opinion up to 12 weeks, two opinions up to 20 weeks. Yeah. This has now changed quite dramatically. Up to 20 weeks, now you need only one signature of an RMP.
Correct.
Between 20 and 24 weeks, you can provide an abortion, but you need two opinions. That means you need the signature of two RMPs. There is absolutely no need to have a fresh registration, fresh inspection, or any other kind of application to your appropriate authority, provided you are already registered up to 20 weeks. So let me say that again. If you are registered up to 20 weeks as an abortion provider, that means if your facility is registered up to 20 weeks, you can now provide abortions as of this day or the day the amendments got passed. You can provide abortions right up to 24 weeks of gestation for a variety of indications. In fact, if you look at the list of indications under which fall under providing abortions up to 24 weeks, you'll see that besides failure of contraception, almost everything is covered. So it's a very, very exhaustive list, and it really makes a lot of difference to everybody who needs abortions between 20 and 24 weeks. But the government's gone a step beyond and has said that significant abnormalities or abnormalities which impact quality of life can now be terminated throughout pregnancy, even after 24 weeks. The only thing is that after 24 weeks, you need to go to the medical board. Now, this may sound like a cumbersome exercise, but in fact, it is not, because remember, previously, you had to go to High Court. And what the High Court would do, you couldn't go to any lower court. The High Court would then appoint a medical board. The medical board would then take its own time in examining the person who sought the abortion. And I'm saying the word person here very consciously, given all the debate around things which are happening in the Supreme Court. The medical board would then give an opinion in a sealed envelope to the judge. And based on that opinion, the judge would say that, all right, you can or cannot undergo abortion. And this process used to take a very long time.
A lot of time.
Now you can approach a medical board directly.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's mandated that the medical board has to give an opinion in 3 days from the day of receiving a request. And moreover, has to make sure that within 5 days, if they agree to the decision for an abortion, within 5 days, the abortion has to be provided. I cannot tell you how much big of a change this is. processes which used to take weeks and months now get over in 5 days. And we really need to sort of, commend our authorities for taking this action, because this has really led to a sea change on how we would approach any abnormality in the late trimesters. So to answer your question in very brief, up to 12 weeks, one opinion.
12 to 20.
Sorry, up to 20 weeks now, one opinion. 12 weeks was earlier. Up to 20 weeks, one opinion. 20 to 24 weeks, two opinions.
Yeah.
Beyond 24 weeks, only for the indication of lethal or significant abnormalities, go to a medical board, and then do the abortion. Even if a medical board is not present in your area and you need to go to court, don't ask them permission for an abortion anymore. That's no longer within the court's ambit. What the court has to do is direct a medical board to be formed in that area. I'm happy to inform you that I was at the National Consultation on Comprehensive Abortion Care in Delhi for 2 weeks, just last maybe like 5 days back. And 10 states have already formed or issued a gazette for medical boards to be formed. And we have been assured, because representatives from all the states were there, and most states latest by November or December will get the gazette issued. So by next year, we should have functioning medical boards in almost every district of the country. Imagine what a big thing,
So it will save time, easy to access will happen. And more and more patients will be benefited with it, and it will be more safer when we have the good consultants doing it. So do you think we talk about abortion and all those things, but worried about all the penalties when we violate the MTP Act? That's another big thing, because previously misuse of many things have already been there. So what you suggest and what you talk about, what are the penalties when we violate the MTP Act?
So, in fact, the MTP Act is very protective.
Yes.
It is very protective because there is a Section 8 which says that if you have acted in good faith, then you are protected from all prosecution. Forget about going to court, a case cannot even be filed against you. But for this to be applicable, you have to follow all the tenets of the MTP Act. And really speaking, it's not very difficult to follow the MTP Act. It's not an act which is as cumbersome as some of the other acts that we have to negotiate through. So in terms of penalties and provisions, if you don't follow the MTP Act, then you can be prosecuted under the Indian Penal Code, because as I said, the MTP Act makes an exception to the Indian Penal Code, provided you have followed everything under the MTP Act. And if you want to follow everything under the MTP Act, as I said, not very difficult. There are some forms that you have to fill and the indications that you have to follow. There is a new thing in Section 5, where if you break confidentiality, there can be a penal provision. This has been done out of concern for respecting women's confidentiality. We are still waiting for a little more clarity on what confidential means. But confidential in the broad sense means that it's not confidentiality as we would normally perceive it. It's confidentiality in broadcasting publicly whether someone has undergone an abortion or not. So there is a procedure for that. When a woman comes to your clinic, you are supposed to enter her name in a secret register and assign a code to her. And after that, in all the indoor papers, you are supposed to refer to her only by a code. You're not supposed to refer to her by name. Now, obviously, in a very busy hospital or in a public hospital, it's not always possible. When the patient is called, for example, to the operation theater, she's still referred to by name. And that is technically, although it's technically breaking confidentiality, it's not a something punishable. So by breaking confidentiality, it is given to mean that it is like, for example, on Facebook, don't say this patient with the name and photo of the patient came to me and I did a very good abortion. That is something which is not to be done. And that is what is meant by breaking confidentiality. There are several issues in this, Kawita, honestly. For example,
I know it's a big, I think it's not a simple word, the confidential.
I'll just give you one example which I get asked all the time, and that is when patients have Mediclaim.
Yeah, I know.
So when they have Mediclaim, you need to write their name on the discharge card.
Identity.
Don't write their name on the discharge card, they won't get the claim. You also provide a bill. And on any bill, because that bill can be audited later on by the tax authorities, you can't write the code. You have
Yes.
to write the patient's name. So technically, that way, if you see, you are breaking confidentiality. But the argument against that is that the discharge card and the bill are given to the patient,
Yeah,
who's a party to the procedure. And because she's a party to the procedure, you are handing it over to the patient. And then if the patient submits this to Mediclaim, then
That-
she's breaking confidentiality. You are not breaking confidentiality.
absolutely. That's a
So
good.
that is perfectly fine. So, there are many nuances and all to this whole thing, but it's really not something that, as I said, we should not broadcast in any public forum that we did an MTP for this, that, or the other.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Otherwise, there is not much to worry about in Section 5A also.
I know. Means you mean that the confidentiality is basically because we take her consent also.
Right.
And the another point is his right to privacy is basically we protect it. We make informed decisions also. We give them what we tell them that then for the way you talk, I think that's really good. And it should not be like in a public forum or in a workshop or anything like that, that we should not do this type of things. And do you think we already talked about any current debates surrounding the MTP Act? You already said that the gadget is going to come in the November, December. You have given any other current debates around our MTP Act law, India, though we have an amendment recently also, and already you are talking about this thing, and one more thing you have talked about what you said, it should be legal for having an abortion, like right for the abortion. Is there any other thing debates is going on about the MTP?
Well, I would say the POXO Act is one major point of conflation. I don't think it's a debate. I think it's a point of conflation. And the other is the way the PCPNDT Act is sometimes implemented. I must say here, Kawita, that the PCPNDT Act implementation has become much more rational in recent times as compared to the past. This is perhaps because of increased awareness. There is also the fact that there was a writ petition filed in Supreme Court by Foxy, which has laid down certain provisions that have to be followed, which has made things a little easier for our practitioners. But the POXO Act still remains a big barrier, particularly for adolescents who, require both contraception as well as abortion. And I think one of the reasons why the POXO Act is, I think to a certain extent, perhaps misunderstood, is that aid and abet clause. For example, I've heard people saying that as gynecologists, if you prescribe contraception, then you are aiding and abetting that adolescent to have sex, and therefore you can be taken to task under the POXO Act. I think that is a real stretch. The aid and abet is not meant to be applied in such instances. In fact, it's no
moral policing a little bit.
No, it's not a moral policy. It is if you actively
policing.
Yeah,
not policy, policing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is, for example, someone in the house is aware of someone being abused, who's less than 18 years of age and doesn't report. That is aiding and abetting. I don't think it applies to gynecologists prescribing contraception and however, if you come to know of any adolescent who is pregnant, and here the POXO Act defines a minor as anyone less than 18 years of age, you are duty bound to report it to the police or the appropriate authority. There are some districts or states where there are child authorities, so you have to report it to them. So if you are aware that anybody less than 18 years is pregnant, technically you have to report. If you don't report, it's a punishable offense. And reporting is quite simple. You on a letterhead, a copy, you just say Miss So-and-so, aged about so-and-so, has come to see me, and I find that she's so many weeks pregnant, and this is for your information. Once you have informed, taken a received stamp on the duplicate and come back to your clinic, you and the patient now move from the POXO Act back into the MTP Act. And under the MTP Act, providing abortion for adolescents was actually quite friendly. because anybody under the age of 18 could access abortion with consent from a guardian who was an adult guardian. Now, mind you, it did not say legal guardian. And there is a lot of difference between the word legal guardian and guardian.
Correct.
In this instance, a guardian could be anybody more than the age of 18. It could be her boyfriend who's more than 18 years of age. It could be elder sister, aunt, uncle, somebody she trusts who is more than 18 years of age. As long as that person is willing to give a signature, that's good enough. So I think the conflation with well-meaning laws which are required, like POCSO or even PNDT for that matter, it remains a point of debate. Another point of debate remains, as I already said, whether abortion is a right. Technically, it's not, but it's able to access it very well. And of course, second trimester abortions also remain a point of debate, particularly with its methodology. But very clearly, MIFI and MISO are the preferred ways, and there is more and enough evidence to back up this use.
Correct. Excellent. Excellent. Because the POCSO Act is a troublesome and people get worried about it. If you know the right way and putting things and informing police at a right time, we are safe and nothing to worry about. I'm sorry. We are worried about the safe abortion in our country. Always we are talking since long. But do you think it's worrisome point?
So I would say it depends on your perspective. There was a sample registration survey, an SRS survey conducted by the Census Department many years back, which said that in approximately 99-2000, in those years, it's a range, the contribution of unsafe abortion to maternal mortality was close to 18%. When they did the survey again in 2001 to 2003 period, they found that the contribution of unsafe abortion to maternal mortality had gone down by 10%. It's a massive fall, by 10% to 8%. Now, unfortunately, the later NFHS surveys or SRS surveys have not focused on unsafe abortion as a cause for maternal morbidity and mortality. But I was just speaking to a statistician, again in that same conclave, a professor of statistics, in fact, and he said that his estimate is that unsafe abortion now contributes 2 to 3% only to maternal mortality and morbidity. And this is perhaps due to easy availability of mifepristone and misoprostol in our country, which has really been a blessing of the greatest kind. So yes, unsafe abortion is a problem, but in India, we have this very peculiar situation where abortions are sometimes illegal but safe.
Yes.
And if you read between the lines, you will understand what I'm saying. I think the next step now for abortions is really making sure that patients have last mile access. They have always provided abortion safely, with compassion, with dignity, with empathy, and that the quality of services that is being provided to them is of the highest quality. So I think these are the sort of things we need to start talking about now.
Again, with the safe abortion, with all respectful maternity sort of things, and they should be accessible to each and everyone at the end of the day. Every unreached places also, the safe abortion should be. I agree with you. And this is one of the reasons in last few years, because of the safe abortions, we have lost the 8% of the maternal deaths have gone down. So it's one of the last few questions, and I think I'll invite Dr. Basab also to join to ask you a few questions. Basab, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there, but I don't have any questions. It's always a pleasure to hear Jaideep about abortion. Every time you learn something new. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much for inviting me, Kawita. I have nothing much to add. We covered some of the topics which we wanted to cover. I'm sure the audience has got some take homes today from this.
An important one, I think that you are also doing so much work in this. So one of the any policymakers are playing ensuring role. Like a government is doing by amendment and everything we are talking about. But anything like being something which we can do extra, I think we have talked about it.
I think we should keep the discussion on. The discussion has to go on. In every conference and in every workshop which we do, there must be some amount of discussion on this abortion and the MTP new act. I think people must be aware. That's to start with, and about the confusion that we have with the POXO and the PCPNDT. I think that is a permanent discussion
Yeah.
happening, and that I think is good. I think we need to keep the ball rolling, and people should be more or less sure of what they're doing so they don't get into trouble. I think that's so important for the healthcare professions to just be on the safe side.
I think any concluding remarks, Jaideep, you would like to talk about this act and everything about the discussion today, how progressive, how liberal we are in comparison to the other areas of the world.
I just want to say that perhaps obstetricians and gynecologists don't necessarily get enough credit for making abortion safe. And I've felt about this very strongly. In fact, if you look at all the discussions, if you look at a lot of documents, both from government and the whole ecosystem on abortion, you will always see that provider bias or judgmental providers, they say that are a barrier for providing abortion. And I get very upset when I read that, honestly, because I think that in fact, we are not given enough credit for what we do. And that's why I am planning to do a study on provider bias in here. I'm planning to look at the evidence. Is supposed to say that providers are biased or that providers are judgmental. I think it has become such a well-accepted thing that yes, of course, providers are biased, that nobody stops to think about the evidence which says that providers are biased, because you talk about biased providers, but you never talk about the large majority of providers who are doing good by providing excellent, non-judgmental, respectful service. And I think, in fact, a very big problem. So I'm going to address this issue head on. I'm going to do a study. I'm going to look at the evidence to see if providers are really biased. And if they are, then I'm going to ask this question, which has not been asked so far. And that is, what makes providers behave the way they do? Right? Because we are a product of the society. We are a product of our educational system. These things don't come into our brain de novo. We have also been influenced. So unless we don't find this out, how will we address the issue? And as I said, I get very upset when people say providers are judgmental and providers are biased. And the reason I do that is because you're not acknowledging the overwhelmingly large majority of providers who are, non-judgmental and non-biased and are doing their best to provide services in the best possible way. I think this is going to be a very important focus in my year. And the last thing I want to say, Kawita, is I'm again very, very sorry for joining.
No, that's not a big deal. No, not like
really,
that.
very, very sorry.
I think, no, nothing like that. Nothing like that. But I feel, I like the point that the credit we should need more. Am I right? I think in my words, I'm saying like that. In comparison, yeah.
And also, Kawita, I want to wish you the very best. You know that elections are coming up, and I want to wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much. That's not the point over here. And the basic thing, the influence is like all the point is we should have more awareness, more reducing stigma, more access to the services, and more credit to us. I think I've learned from you today that we are not being given the correct credit for what we are doing by reducing maternal mortality.
We have been given credit, but I don't think we've been given enough credit.
That means we need more respect, more credits to our. Thank you so much.
I mean, there is no reason why we shouldn't.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for the Tuesday tea time, and it's a important thing. I'll try to bring many more leaders of Foxy for the conversation, for the dialogue, and on the various topics which are important for day-to-day practices and which we take work messages at the end of the day. Thank you so much, Dr. Jaideep, because the abortion is sometimes scary, sometimes worrisome. People have stopped doing abortions many times because of the laws, because of anything. So they should not worry. It's a point that the healthcare service providers should go on doing best of their parts. And if they are able and skillful, they should continue to give the services to the. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Basa.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. Okay. Good day. Have a good day. Thank you so much. the audience.
Sorry हाँ कविता, वो actually कुछ तो हो रहा था, मैं तुझे फोन पे बताता हूँ.
अच्छा नहीं, मेरे को I thought that you are busy in something, not picking phone, so I thought something is wrong. So I even international बात हो गई परीक्षित से. I know, so I was feeling bad that he's on the vacation and we're traveling. So WhatsApp पे बात. So thank you so much.
Thank
Good.
you. Thank you. Kavita.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining this wonderful conversation today, and stay tuned for the next many more sessions with us. Thank you, Sheel, for providing us the platform. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.